Hi everyone, welcome back. Hopefully you've seen part 1 to the top 50 games. This is going to be 40 to 31. Part 2 of it. We're going to be doing one a day until Monday, which is going to be the grand opening, the grand launch of my Patreon campaign, which is a new thing. Nervous about it. Hopefully it's going to go well. If you are watching this after a few days, that's going to be up. So I would ask you, if you enjoy what I do, to go and check that out. There'll be a link up here and down there. If you're watching this on the day, though, that's not up yet. Look forward to it. Let's get on to game number 40. And number 40 is Biblios, designed by Steve Finn. Amazing designer of shorter games. He's done Herbaceous, Cosmic Run, The Little Flower Shop, loads and loads of things. The Institute of Magical Arts. Look them up if you haven't, they are fantastic. This is a game about libraries. We are monks building libraries, and the game comes with this little board that shows the categories of books that are in this library. Each category has a points value, and you are aiming to have the most cards representing books of that category at the end of the game. And what makes it clever is the way that you end up drafting these cards. So we have a stack of all of the cards in the game, some removed based on the player count. So in a 2-player game, for example, I draw cards one by one, and I'm eventually going to do this 3 times in a 2-player game. I need to put a card in front of me, a card out into the public space. In a 2-player game, that's essentially giving it to the other player, and a card for the auction pile. But I don't get to see the whole thing each time. I just get to decide one by one. So if I'm thinking, this is good, but I'm hoping for something better, that can go in the auction. And then, oh, this is no good for me, this can go to you. Oh, this is even worse. So it's that kind of thing where you have to, sometimes it's better to make do with what you've got in the first place. And so you are trying to see, based on what you have, you can't see what the other person has given themselves. You can see what you have given them through the public pile and hope to not give them high values of, one set of colours that will inevitably give them a majority. And then we're building up this auction pile because, as well as having different colours of cards in this deck, we also have coins that we are going to end up getting. All of the cards that we decided to send to this auction pile, after we've gone through the whole deck, that's phase 1 done. Now we go into phase 2, which is auction. We reveal a card from the top of the auction deck, and then we bid how many coins we want to pay for that card. And so, yeah, you have by then hopefully worked out which majorities you are going for and which ones you really need to bid on, and ones that other people are going for and what you need to bid them up on. And there are also cards in there that affect the dice that show you how many points each colour is worth. So if you don't care about a colour, you're okay with tanking it. If you really care about a colour, you want it to be worth the most points. Just an amazingly satisfying filler game. Biblios. Number 39, first of the enormous boxes. This is Galaxy Trucker from designer Vlada Chvátil, and it doesn't normally come in this huge a box. This is the anniversary edition. You can get normal sized boxes, which I probably should have gone for and just put the expansions in there. That's not an issue though. This is a competitive real-time game where we are trying to build a spaceship basically out of junk, and there is a great big pile of tiles in the middle of the table. Each round, we are one by one, you're allowed to look at a tile and either put it in your spaceship or put it back out face up. So if it's not for you, you're giving other people information as to the tiles that are available. And you are trying to build all sorts of things. You're trying to build storage for when you go onto the planets and get valuable resources to get the most points out of them. You are trying to build lasers to destroy asteroids that would otherwise destroy you. You're trying to build shields to shield you from smaller asteroids. You are trying to get crew so that you have enough crew to send to these various missions. And all sorts of crazy things that the expansions add as well. I don't think we've played with stuff from the second expansion yet. Yeah, there's a wealth of stuff just in the base game. Never mind 2 big box expansions that give all sorts of different ship configurations and stuff. So you're trying to build this ship, but at the same time you can. The time is ticking down. You haven't got very long to build these ships at all. But at the same time, you can take a look at the decks that have been formed that are basically what's going to happen after we've built our ships when we go on this voyage. So you can get an idea of the cards that are going to be coming out, the difficulties you're going to face. You can never be quite sure because, say, for asteroids, you roll a die to see which row or column they're going to be coming in. So you can't be 100% guaranteed that you're going to be able to defend yourself or destroy the asteroid before it gets to you. But you can have some idea so that, oh, this deck is asteroid crazy. I want as many shields and lasers as I can get hold of. Actually, there isn't that much danger on here. I need loads of space for stuff. Or, you know, there's lots of the dangerous resource here, so I want a lot of the special spaces that can only have that in it. And, you know, inevitably, though, you're not going to have perfect information on what's going to come out there. And even if you do, you're not necessarily going to be able to get the right connections and the right pieces in the middle of the table to be able to defend against all of that stuff. So the first part of the game, and the main part of the game, really, is building your ship up. We then go into what's really a scoring round. So people criticize it as being, oh, this is just scoring, but it's an amazing scoring round where we basically go on this voyage, and depending on turn order, you go down to the planets, and you get to, you know, give up people for points, or you get to get some of these resources, or have to see if you defend your ship against asteroids. And generally what happens, to varying degrees, your ship over the course of this voyage is going to start disintegrating because you made it with junk and made the best of what you could do at the time. As I was interrupted. So inevitably your ship is going to lose parts, it's going to split in half, maybe it's going to be destroyed entirely, and hopefully you've managed to build it well enough that enough of it is going to stay together with enough resources and things that get you points and win you the game. But it is really in that there's a score and it matters and stuff. But yeah, you do have to find that element of it fun. I can definitely see how some people, you know, just get their whole thing destroyed and it could be a bit of a bad time for them. But yeah, I don't really think there's anything like Galaxy Trucker. And you can say that for a lot of Vlada's games. I don't know where this came from, but I'm really, really glad that it exists. It can be a frustrating game. It's one that you need to kind of remember what all these different parts do, but despite those things, it's such a fantastic experience, and I love trying to build the ship up just in general, never mind tailoring it to what's coming up. I love the tiling, the spatial puzzle of getting the right connections, getting things in the right place, not building yourself into a corner, not leaving exposed connections that are really weak to the asteroids and things. It's just such a fantastic game. And there is a really great app of this that, you know, doesn't 100% have the same feel of the board game, but captures the essence of it very well, and is a great thing on the go or for playing on your own as well, which, you know, you can't really play Galaxy Trucker on your own, but I bet, having said that, there's a solo variant for it. Anyway, that's Galaxy Trucker. Number 38 is another enormous one. This is Mechs versus Minions, which is another cooperative game. This is a cooperative programming game where we play as various characters from League of Legends. It definitely gets brownie points from us because, you know, we played a lot of League of Legends, so the theme is definitely extra appealing to us. But just as a game, stripping all of that out from it entirely, just as a game, it's fantastic as well. We play as these characters that are in mech suits that don't quite do what we want them to. And there are minions, so Mechs versus Minions. There are various minions that are ever advancing, and we need to make sure that our mechs stop the minions from getting into wherever it is we're defending in this particular scenario. We do that through getting a draft of cards at the start of each round, and, you know, we need to decide between us very quickly. There is a timed phase where we can decide who's getting what, and you lay them out into your player boards and add to them, and, you know, change what you do. So you will rotate, move forward, attack, that kind of stuff. You are trying to make all of these actions happen in the right order because, you know, sometimes you're just going to be spinning in circles and not doing anything. And sometimes you're going to be wiping every minion off the board, and it's fantastic. But it depends on the cards that come out, how you arrange them, where the minions end up going, all of these various things. The scenario effects, if there's oil that's going to make you slide further and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you keep your cards on there as well. So as the game goes on, if you can keep getting similar types of cards, they will get more and more powerful as you lay them on top of each other. And by the end of the scenario, you hopefully end up with a really powerful mech that's doing an amazing number of things compared to how you started it. It's another scenario-based game as well, so it's a campaign game, so you unlock new envelopes that progress on a story and add more and more elements to the game to unlock it as you go through it as well. It's not legacy, it can all be reset. You don't tear things up, you don't write on things or anything like that. And yeah, it's another one that, if I had time, we'd be at the end of this. But I think we got a bit over halfway through, which tends to be the way we get through everything. Such a fantastic co-op game. Definitely, co-op is a plus point. Programming is another big plus point. It's got a bit of real time thrown in there as well, and a great theme that, whether you know the video game or not, the story it tells is a nice, funny one, and it's really well made as well. It's I'm not sure of the price of it. I think you can only get it from Riot Games directly. But yeah, it's full of little minion minis. The characters in their mechs themselves are pre-painted. The minions all have a nice wash on them, so it's got a great look. It's definitely a massively impressive game when you unbox it all as well. But there's a playthrough for this, and you can check that out if you'd like to know more. Mechs vs. Minions. Number 37 is Dawn of Peacemakers. Now, this is a cooperative game that, again, isn't really like anything else. This is a game where it's an animal world. It's if you played Dale of Merchants, it's the same animal world from that series, but way in the past. In this game, the macaws have decided that they don't like the way things are. They're going to take some land. They deserve more. They are going to take what's theirs, and the land in question happens to belong to the ocelots. And so the ocelots understandably don't want that to happen, and us as independent observers of this get the sense that war is brewing, and we want to stop that from happening. We don't want to see bloodshed. We don't want to see lives lost over essentially nothing. And so our job during each game, this is another scenario-based game, entirely resettable, where we are presented with a situation, and we need to try and get the opposing sides to not surrender, not defeat each other, but to get the sides to a point where they basically stop this particular battle, where they both get worn down enough that they call it a day, that they've lost enough resources, they're not going to win this, but they don't want to surrender, so they just both decide to call it off. That's the optimum outcome for it. The scenarios do progress if you get different outcomes, and you will end up going down some different paths depending on how things go in those games. But the gameplay is nice as well, that you have these AI decks controlling the various armies in it. And so it kind of feels like it's not a war game at all, but it feels like you are kind of an observer. You're an interloper in a war game, and you are trying to sabotage it and stop it from happening by, you're doing things like giving them the wrong orders, giving them food poisoning and stuff. Not in the sense that, even when characters are defeated, they're just injured and they run off. They're not killed in this. We're not trying to kill anyone, but yeah, just that central part. I love the idea that we are kind of observers of this game, and we're interfering with it, and thematically interfering in the war itself. But that is one of the main keys to this game. That's as I mentioned maybe in a previous video now, that we do not like any kind of fighting between the players. Don't want to do that in games at all. And so a game where we are trying to make other people be peaceful as well. It's just a really different concept as well from everything that is out there. Sure, there is building games and all sorts of stuff that I love. That's where the main objective of the game isn't just to kill. But this is not just something different to that, it's the polar opposite of it. And I love that this exists. I would love to see this kind of theme explored more. I think it does it in a fantastic way. And it is also a game that's, again, because it's scenario-based, it's campaign-based, there are a lot of surprises to be had in this as well, through sealed envelopes and boxes and sealed decks and things. So yeah, a lot in store for that. And this was played through quite recently as well, so you can find out more in my video about Dawn of Peacemakers. Number 36 is The Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is the successor, not the full-on sequel, but the successor to Suburbia, and also in the previous video, I think, was Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is the basis for half of that game, where, like in Suburbia, it uses a similar format where we are trying to build here a castle rather than a city, but instead of just doing it through hexes, we have all of these crazy shaped rooms because, the Mad King he's a Mad King. He has all of these crazy demands that we want to try and meet. We want certain rooms next to each other, certain rooms, they all have different criteria, like this big living room here wants to be next to as many utility rooms as possible, and completing the rooms gets you a load of bonuses, so you want to completely surround rooms, but obviously, depending on the tiles that are available and the space that's available in your castle, that's going to be harder and harder to do as the game goes on. Again, this is higher up for... I love the addition of the different sizes and shapes of things, whereas Suburbia is very much about getting the right types next to each other, that kind of spatial puzzle. This adds another element to it, that you need to make sure that things fit and you need to change your plans based on what ends up available to you. Another thing that's different in Castles of Mad King Ludwig is that instead of just having a display and, the things further to the left cost more and you need to wait for them to slide down, here someone is master builder each round and they get to decide how much everything is going to cost per round, and everybody else that buys something pays the money to the master builder. So you want to be able to assess what everybody else is doing, not price it cheaply enough that they're getting a bargain. You want to find out what they've got and price it high enough that you're getting the most money out of them as possible because they're paying the money directly to you, but not so high that they're going to pick something cheaper or maybe pick something else that's getting you less money, or maybe even pass and earn money instead because you've been selfish and set it ridiculously high. Maybe you want to do that though because you want a particular tile, so you set it crazy high that no one's ever going to buy it, but then with all of your winnings from everybody else, you'll be able to buy it yourself. But maybe you could have got it for less and nobody else wanted it. Yeah, it definitely adds a lot more thought because it's up to you how much things are going to cost, and you need to get inside everybody else's head to see what is going on with them. And just like with Suburbia and a lot of tile laying games, this is probably one of the best for looking at your insane creation at the end of it, and again telling a even weirder story than could have happened in Suburbia with the strange way you have ended up laying out your castle. And this too has got, I can't remember, is it Secrets is the expansion for this, where similarly to Suburbia, where you've got bits of sea that kind of restrict where you can build. In Castles expansion, you end up with a moat, which, how thematic can you get? You end up building different bits of a moat that ends up as a frame around your castle that really restricts the area that you can build in, but at the same time will get you massive benefits for going for that restriction. Just absolutely fantastic. Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Number 35 is Forge War from designer Isaac Childress. Whatever happened to that guy? This is a game where it's definitely the theme is the first hook for me. That it's an RPG, kind of adventure game. It's a fantasy world. People are going off on quests, but we are not the adventurers that are going off on that quest. We are merchants. We are businessmen that are kind of the funders of these people. We're giving them their weapons and stuff. We're hiring them to go on these quests, but they're the ones taking on the danger and all of the risk and stuff. We are trying to assess which quests to get to suit our adventurers, how difficult they're going to be. They'll need better and better weapons as the difficulties increase, and which rewards are best for us as well. And there is a lot going on in this game. This is a long game. This is one of the main reasons that we have not played it very many times, because it is a game with different phases that escalate. It's got speed up rules, so you don't have to play all of those phases. But it's really satisfying when you do play all of those phases, because you can see how small you started off and how crazy grand things have gotten towards the end of it. But it's taken upwards of 3 hours to get to that point. But it's got so many different things going on. So it's got that main thing where you're going on these quests. It's got this mining mini game where you're trying to jump over other players' workers to turn them into your workers and stuff, so you'll get more resources. It's got a village phase where you are buying, different abilities for yourself, but mainly recipes for weapons. And if you've gotten the right resources in the mining part to apply to your recipe, you can now give your adventurers those weapons or shields and things. And hopefully through some combination of that, you will get them on the right quests for you to be able to get the most prestige and win. It's got a great solo mode as well, but a really harsh solo mode, because you need to take a new quest every single round in the solo mode, and if you ever fail at a quest, if your adventurers ever can't progress to the next stage of it, which is where the difficulty keeps going up and up and up, if you ever can't do that with a quest, you lose the game. And yeah, quite early on, I attempted a solo playthrough of this and lost embarrassingly early on, and thought, no, I will do a proper playthrough where I at least do a little bit better. I at least get people to see more of the game. And yeah, that was before Gloomhaven came out. And when I still had more time for games. Maybe this will get voted for one day, though. And I kind of fear that day, because I dread to think how long it will take me to film it. But this is an absolutely fantastic game. And again, another one that there isn't really anything much like this. And that is why it is so highly ranked. I can't remember the exact number. 30-something's the video we're in. Forge War. Number 34 is Snowdonia, the elder sibling of Foothills from earlier. This is the big board game. I bet you can play it with more than 2 players, and you can play it solo if you like. This is, similarly themed. It's a train game. The base scenario is you building the railway up Snowdonia, a mountain in Wales. And you do it in a similar way as well, clearing out rubble, laying track, building stations for different resources, getting different amounts of points in it. And some of the things that tip it over, just Foothills so far. Foothills is new, but that it's got so many different scenarios for it. I've only got a few. I do have the master set on the way when the Kickstarter delivers, but it's got so many different scenarios that add different ways of playing. Like the other scenario in here, is it Blenau Festenog? That is from memory. Never mind pronunciation of if I've got the name right even. In that, we are, rather than just starting at the bottom of a mountain and trying to work the way up, we are starting at different ends, and we are kind of, racing to the top. That doesn't determine the winner. But yeah, there's lots of different ways. There's one where there are coffins, and you are trying to I can't remember, you're trying to deliver those around. There's one with daffodils, there's one where you're digging trenches, you're trying to use rubble to fill in water and stuff. There's so many different things going on in here, but one of the real keys, one of the things that first hooked me on Snowdonia, and I still don't think I've really seen it in other games, although I'm sure I can be corrected in the comments, is that there is a resource bag in Snowdonia that, the stockyard is refilled from this bag. So it's got iron in it and stone and coal that's quite rare, but it's also got these white event cubes in it. And they trigger different things, like you being able to buy trains and stuff. You can get trains in Snowdonia that give you special abilities throughout the game, by the way, and give you access to more workers, so you can get more actions per round. But there are event cubes in this that do some things, but mainly they represent another non-player company that is better than everybody and can, do all of the stations in one go and clear all of the rubble off a card in one go. Whenever their cards come out, there is a little track that shows you what they're going to do next, so you can kind of predict that, if we draw an event cube, they're about to build a station. So if I want to get that done, I need to do it now in case we draw another cube when that gets refilled. And it's nice thematically that it represents this other company that is building these things along with us, but it also acts as a kind of timer for the game, that you can't be hoarding resources, because if you are, that means all that's left in the bag is these white cubes, and that other company is just going to be rattling off all of the construction, and maybe that's good for you. Maybe you've got a load of points. It's maybe a strategy towards winning, but generally they are going to get right in the way of what you're doing and speed the game along for you, and I really like that element of it. And just into train, well, not full 18xx games, but I'm into medium weight train games apparently. Snowdonia. Number 33 is Elysium, designed by Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert, and they've collaborated many times, but Elysium is still my favourite out of them. This is a tableau building game with cards. There are lots of different sets of cards in this that are geared towards certain things. There's a very attacking based one. We don't play with that, but there's an option if you like that kind of thing. You know, there's get a load of gold, get a load of points, trigger the powers again on your other cards, that sort of thing. You will get a unique selection from the types of cards each game, and you are trying to draft cards that, you know, with abilities that complement each other, and you are using the actions of the various things. But the main point of the game, you are demigods trying to get to Mount Olympus, of course. You need to get the cards into your Elysium. So, you know, you lose access to the cards. That's another thing that's in some deck building games as well, where you have to deconstruct your deck and lose some of your best cards so that they will be worth points later, because you're trying to make sets of cards in your Elysium. It's also got a really interesting way of collecting the cards, because you have 4 different coloured pillars on your player board at the start of the round, and when you take a card, that means that you need to discard a pillar. It doesn't matter which pillar, but each of the cards in the corner have one of those colours in the corner, 1 or 2 of them, and to be able to take a card with that in there, you need to still have that pillar out on the board. So your card selection gets more and more restricted, and you have to plan ahead not just for what's still going to be there and what other people might take away from you, but what you're going to be able to take later on in the round as well. And add to the loads of different combinations between all of these different sets of cards. I think this is such a fantastic game. It's an early Space Cowboys game who went on to do, you know, the redoing Sherlock Holmes and Time Stories and all of that kind of stuff, and the Unlock games. Apparently, an expansion was planned for this, and it didn't sell enough to warrant one. Space Cowboys, get on it. You've made enough money from Unlock and stuff, I hope. Anyway, get back to Elysium. It's brilliant. Tell more people about this game. It's so fantastic. Elysium. Number 32 is Kingdom Builder, from designer Donald X. Vaccarino, designer of Dominion, of course, and many, many other games. This is another enormous box. This is from a time early on when I used to be really excited about big box versions of games, and now I realise I should have got the normal versions and they would have all fit inside the normal box and I wouldn't have this huge thing in my fireplace. Anyway, that's an aside. Kingdom Builder. In this game, there is a map. Apologies for the cut, I realised there's no playthrough for this and I want to show you what I'm talking about in it. So in Kingdom Builder, we have a randomly generated map out of these tiles that all show different types of terrain on them. And they're also going to have special tiles in certain sections. The map tiles tell you which of these special places are going to be out there, and if you build adjacent to them, you're going to get special abilities that might let you jump over rivers and stuff. But the core of this game is we have a load of differently coloured huts, and we have a deck of cards. On the start of your turn, you draw a card and it's going to have a terrain type on it. That is where you are going to place one of your huts. Different abilities are going to kick in and let you change that up a little bit sometimes, but the majority of the game, that is what you are doing. You are drawing a card and you are putting a hut there. That might sound terrible, but it is absolutely fantastic. And the thing is that you are trying to build adjacent to these. You have a load of scoring cards that are unique to your game, like, for example, a point for everything that you've got on the waterfront, for everything that's next to water. One is pick a horizontal line on the board. You get points for every settlement that you have got on that particular horizontal line. So there's different scoring criteria each game, different abilities you can pick up each game, but the core thing stays the same. You draw the card, so if I draw the desert like that, I'm going to put a hut somewhere on the board on desert. My very first time going onto the board, if I'm not adjacent to any deserts, like my very first turn, I can put it anywhere. In the future though, I have to put it adjacent to desert. So if I go here, for example, and I draw the flower cards in future, now I'm next to the flowers, so I can't go anywhere. I have to go into this flower bed. And like, I see so much. Like, I was put off this game when we first heard about it. The gaming group we used to go to, a few of them hated this game because of that description. And it doesn't sound great, does it? Like, you draw a card and that's it. You just put the piece there and that's it. There's no thought to it. But after getting it and playing it myself, and playing the app, there's an app version of it that's a bit outdated now, but still functional. I think that's so wrong. There is so much depth in the decision of this. The actual gameplay, the the core thing is so simple, but that doesn't mean that your decision is always made for you. The situation you get yourself in, it's down to you. If you find yourself in a situation where it's just, oh, this is just a waste of time, none of this is helping me out, nobody else put you there. It's your decision. There are other people on the map affecting things, but yeah, your decision of where you went in here completely affects the next turns. Where you put your first piece, you're always going to be next to another type of terrain, and it's up to you which type you put yourself next to. If you want to go next to maybe these smaller areas, because as soon as you fill up the area, like I have to go in this flower area now, for example, as soon as I filled that up, I can now jump to any flower area, as long as I haven't put myself adjacent to another one, because then I'm going to be stuck there. So it's all about building so that you have your options as wide open as you possibly can, while still trying to look out for these endgame scoring abilities and the various placement abilities that you can obtain throughout the game. Just such a fantastic game. Kingdom Builder. And finally, for this video anyway, number 31 is Troyes. Well, this box is the ladies of Troyes, but I squashed it all in here, so it saves shelf space, and I don't know where the other box is. There's a playthrough for this as well. There hasn't been one for a while in these videos, has there? Maybe Snowdonia was the last one. I'm here to tell you about Troyes, aren't I? So in this game, we play as different families that are trying to make the town of Troyes, the city of Troyes, prosper. We are trying to help build the cathedral. We are trying to fend off bandits and other disasters that are going to happen. But the way that we do that is, again, it's really different and really unique. There is no helpful picture on the back of this box. So hopefully some of these scenes that I've selected from the playthrough might give you some kind of idea. Each of us, depending on where we have placed ourselves in the various buildings on the board in Troyes, determine the dice we're going to get. They are our workers, but they aren't our workers in a conventional sense. They don't belong to us. They are citizens of Troyes that we have favour with. They would like to do stuff for us, but for the right amount, they will do work for anybody. When it's your turn, you are making a group of dice, between 1 to 3 dice, and you can use other people's dice and dummy player dice if you're playing at the low account. But that means that you can never really have a full plan of what is going on in the game, because your dice aren't set in stone. Even the dice you want to buy from somebody else. It creates this completely different thought process where you can try and make these massive plans, but you are so aware that it's all ethereal and could just evaporate at any second as soon as someone decides to buy the die that you wanted. Someone sees that, well, I've got this 6 red and I don't really want to use it, but I could get some benefit of it, and I don't want you. I can see that it's going to be perfect for you, so I don't want you to have it. But then again, maybe I do want you to have it, because you're going to have to pay me a fortune for it, because there's a set amount. The bigger group you make, the more effective an action you're going to have, the more you're going to have to pay the people whose dice you are buying. The values don't matter when it comes to the cost. So yeah, you have to think about all of these things about, do I want to use them myself before they get a chance to? My plan really relies on this great big group of dice that I've managed to roll, but I need to do one thing first. And if I do that one thing, then you're going to buy one of these dice from me, and now I can't do it anymore. And so maybe I do it first and I get a suboptimal action and stuff. Again, it's so different than anything else, I think. And a few things tend to hold it back. I know a lot of the people that I've spoken to about it, Rachel included, hate the artwork of it. And I think the artwork is really, really great. It's Alexander Roche, who also did Brussels 1893, and Tournay, the card game of Troyes. I just think it's nice anyway. I like looking at it, and it fits this medieval theme absolutely perfectly, I think. And the other thing I can see more is that the game, to be kind of language independent, is full of symbols, and yeah, it can be a bit of a hurdle to get to know what any of it is talking about. And a lot of it is about, you know, the value of the pips on the group of dice you are taking, and you divide it by a number, and that's how many actions you get to take. So there's, you know, some mental maths going on in there as well. I know that that's an issue for some people, but just that core thing of, you know, not really having workers for yourself, but a great big pool of workers that might prefer to work for you, but for the right price will go to anyone. So everything is up for grabs. All plans are, you know, an option because you potentially have the use of all of the dice on the table if you are rich enough. So that is number 31. That is Trois. So that is video 2 of the top 50 games. We're at 31 now, aren't we? Again, this is a daily series that is going to lead up to Monday when we finally get to the top 10, the cream of the crop. But really, I was surprised when I was making this list how low some of these games have come. Like, I love Trois. I'm always going on about how much I love it, and it's ended up at 31. But really, in the grand scheme of things, there's thousands and thousands of games out there. There's hundreds that I've loved. I've done nearly 300 playthroughs for things, and I've got 200 and something. It was the final count in the end when I ranked them all. Yeah, it's there's just, when you rank them all, you're going to end up with these surprisingly low numbers, seemingly, but in the realm of all board games, it's not really a low number, is it? So yeah, it's leading towards the top 10, and on that day, we are going to launch the Patreon campaign to help fund the channel in the future. So if you like what I do in terms of playthroughs, these kind of top 10s, there'll be more of these, there'll be more live Q&As and things, hopefully more of everything if the Patreon goes well. But to do that, I need your help, you in particular. If you wouldn't mind going over there, if you feel like it, and checking out the campaign, that would be great. Obviously, for a few days, that's not going to be applicable until Monday, but for the rest of time, that's hopefully going to be applicable. So, yeah, I hope to see you there. There'll be another video there. There'll be another video here tomorrow, though, with 10 more games that I love. And going through this list reminded me just how much I really, really want to play Kingdom Builder. I haven't played that for years now. Probably a couple of years at least. Played Trois when I did the playthrough. So, sorry, Trois. I'm going to go film some more now. Bye, everybody.